dedicated to empowering underrepresented students, and we really appreciate your
Good morning. Or in true Aggie fashion, howdy. Howdy. All right. Y'all are up this morning. All right. So yesterday's dinner panel served as the perfect segue into this morning's discussion on unmasking imposter syndrome and embracing your full potential. Anybody have any idea what imposter syndrome is about? By show of hands. Yes? Before we get deep into this, does anybody think they've experienced imposter feelings? Oh, y'all are pretty forthcoming. We're going to have some fun today. All right. So I've had the opportunity to speak about imposter syndrome with a wide range of audiences. So undergraduate, graduate, and professional students, corporate teams, and even all male groups. One thing remains the same. All of us have experienced feelings of imposter syndrome, okay? It finds its way into the classrooms, laboratories, boardrooms. It does not matter. And it also finds its way into some of the most accomplished individuals. So today, we're gonna talk about why that is, and most importantly, how we can manage it. So if you've ever doubted your own success, if you felt like you don't belong, or you feared that one day somebody's gonna find you out, then you've experienced imposter syndrome. It isn't just a personal struggle, it's a silent epidemic affecting some of the most accomplished people in every field. And today, we're gonna break that silence. We're gonna challenge those doubts, and we're gonna work on embracing our true potential. Y'all with me? Yes. All right. So what exactly is imposter syndrome? So it's that persistent belief that you're not as competent as others think you are, despite all of your achievements, any evidence of your achievements, whether that's in a classroom, in the workplace, or in your professional circle. So the term imposter syndrome was actually first used in a psychological study of high-achieving women. It was coined by Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes in the late 70s. Now, what we know is that this term transcends beyond women, and it affects people across all backgrounds and all industries, okay? And it can manifest itself in many, many different ways, the most popular being self-doubt. Okay? But it also shows signs of social anxiety and lack of confidence. And regardless of how it appears, the core experience remains the same. Typically, individuals feel fraudulent, right? They feel like their success is undeserved, and at any moment, we're gonna figure out who they really are. So imposter syndrome isn't just something that we feel. It's also how we perceive ourselves in relations to others. Now, for my visual learners, here's a simple illustration of imposter syndrome, okay? In the yellow, we convince ourselves that others know so much more than we do, and we are struggling to keep up, right? Anybody had those feelings? Yes? It creates this illusion that we are the only ones struggling and the only ones that don't fully belong, right? But is that really the truth? I'm gonna come back to you. All right, so before we go any further, we're gonna put this idea to the test. So imposter syndrome, it can be a little sneaky, and it shows up different ways for different people. So let's take a quiz to see how many of these thoughts or behaviors resonate with you. But you have to be honest. You ready? All right. By show of hands, have you secretly attributed your success to luck, timing, or some kind of error? Okay. Have you ever worried about making your work perfect to the point that even the smallest flaws are hard to accept? Yeah. Okay. Would you happen to see criticism as proof of impending failure? Honesty? Okay. When you succeed, do you feel like you fooled somebody? Okay. Okay. Do you ever worry that you won't be able to handle the next big challenge, no matter how much people tell you you are so great at what you do? Okay. All right. If you answered yes, partial yes, to any of these feelings, you are not alone. These thoughts and feelings are classic signs of imposter syndrome, and they're far more common than you think. Some of the greatest minds in history have struggled with imposter syndrome, questioning their own achievements despite undeniable success. And so we're going to take a look at a couple of them. One powerful example is the legendary poet and activist, Dr. Maya Angelou, who won the Presidential Medal of Freedom and was nominated for the Pulitzer Prize and a Tony Award. This is what she once said about herself. I have written 11 books. I think, uh-oh, they're gonna find out now. I've run a game on everybody. Her words remind us that even the most it has real consequences. When we doubt our abilities, we hesitate to take risk. We downplay our achievements, and sometimes we burn ourselves out trying to prove our work, as we just described. But there is good news. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking them, okay? When we become aware of how imposter feelings operate, then we can begin to challenge it, reframe our thinking, and take back control. So we're going to return to the visual, illustrating what imposter syndrome looks like for a second. Here's the truth. That perception is simply an assumption, okay? The reality is that what you know and what others know is pretty balanced. It's just that we have different key areas of experience and expertise, right? So how do we begin to shift the perspective? Now we get into the good stuff. The key, to overcoming is changing the way we see ourselves. The good news is that imposter syndrome, it's not a fixed state. It's a pattern. And patterns can be rewired. Number one, breaking the silence, okay? Too often we keep these feelings to ourselves and we're convinced that we're the only ones experiencing them. Did you take a moment to look around the room when we were going through the quiz? Did you see that the person sitting to your left or to your right or in front or behind you happen to be experiencing some of the same things? That's important. Next, build a strong network of peers. Surrounding yourself with supportive peers and mentors and friends can serve as a powerful antidote to self-doubt. A trust network is what I like to call it. And it provides you the encouragement that you need, but it reminds you that you're not alone in your experiences. By sharing struggles and successes with each other, you create a space where mutual support and perspective help counter imposter feelings. Another essential strategy is to track your successes. How many of you brag on yourself? I'm gonna ask again. How many of you brag on yourself? Okay, so that's something we're gonna have to work on. All right? When imposter syndrome creeps in, it's easy to discount your achievements, right? And attribute your achievements to luck. But if you write them down, right, there's that tangible proof of what's possible. And they can be big wins, but you want to calculate the small wins too, right? So you got that paper published, right? You finished teaching that class, okay? You defended your research, right? Let's say you were struggling with your faculty advisor. It's not a happy moment, but it happens. When you've been able to prove your point, right? That's a success. I won't use the term that the younger generation like to use, but document your successes and be ready to use them when imposter feelings step in. At the core of imposter syndromes are the negative thought patterns, and reframing them is the key to overcoming self-doubt. So instead of telling yourself, I don't belong in the room, we want to shift the narrative a little bit and acknowledge that you've worked hard to be here, and your unique talents and contributions are worthy. So finally, it's crucial to accept that perfection is a myth. No one has all the answers, and mistakes are a natural part of learning and growing. Okay, high standards are good and they're motivating, but perfectionism often fuels imposter feelings by making any small misstep feel like failure. So instead of striving for perfection, let's focus on progress, okay? So before we move to part 2, I want to leave you with this. Imposter syndrome may feel like an ever-present shadow at times, but it's not insurmountable. By taking actionable steps, You can challenge the thoughts and diminish its power. So 1, this is your call to action. We're going to start tracking achievements today, big or small. Let's write them down. 2, share your experiences, and you'll find out that you're not alone. 3, seek mentors and build a support system. Success is never meant to be a solo journey. And if someone tells you otherwise, they're wrong. Okay? Let's make the commitment to leave imposter feelings behind and move forward with the confidence to truly embrace our success. Thank you. So yesterday, we spent about 10 good hours together, right? We family now, okay? And as a family, we're gonna talk, right? So I've said my piece, and now I wanna hear yours. So the truly rewarding part about addressing imposter feelings is to really discuss them, communicate them, understand them. And so I wanna open the floor to your thoughts and your questions. I wanna help you challenge those feelings, whether it's personal, whether you're facing something or can't really figure out the strategy that will work for you, or even if you face something similar and want to share the strategy that worked for you. I want us to continue this conversation together. And because I'm up at the mic, I want to pose the first question. What's one area in your life where imposter syndrome shows up the most? Talk to me. Stand up. Yes. Grad school? Okay. In what way? Where are you? Where? Okay. Does that mean you don't belong? Or is it that you're on? Great point. Great point. But is that not what learning is all about? You came to school, to obtain a degree, and now an extended degree. And the idea is that you are working toward being able to contribute as an expert, if you would, in this very same area, right? It's just a part of the path, is it not? Okay. Anyone else want to share?
My question is in reference to self-actualization and imposter syndrome. How can you have a high level of self-awareness and understanding of oneself and still have characteristics or similarities of imposter syndrome?
That was a loaded question.
I know, right?
And I'm going to try, okay? So I am not a psychologist, a sociologist, or anything like that. I don't even remember how I got. Yeah, I'm not even sure how this happened and how I morphed into this area. But one thing I like to share with people is, and it's a pretty popular saying, I either win or I learn, right? I don't take the perspective of win or lose. And I think when you allow yourself to be a learner, and that's something we should all strive to be lifelong, right? Then you're able to look at the situation a little bit differently, right? It's not going to always work out, in my favor, but I'm not taking L's in the sense of losses. I'm taking L's in the sense of learning. So it's about changing your perspective. Yes. Anyone else? In the back?
I'm actually from Preview A&M University. I kind of have a question. You say we should always share our symptoms with friends, right? And mentors, that it helps a lot. Okay. What if you're trying to share with a mentor or a friend, and they're like, hey, you're even better than me, like. And you start questioning yourself, like, I'm telling you my weakness, and maybe I need help. Like, I need to know where I can work on my weakness. And then you're like, hey, you're even better than me. Will you accept that the person is right, or is it still the imposter syndrome? Thank you.
I often have friends, colleagues, even my daughter, right, that share their different experiences or their achievements, or, they're looking for sincerity. I often respond with, you're better than me. It's a colloquialism, right? Because I'm also trying to give you your flowers, right? So take it for what it is. That's number one. But number two is making sure you have a trust network that's very diverse, right? Because what are you studying? What's your major? What are you studying? Okay, I'm an engineer. I don't know much about health science. But where my expertise may be very different in something very specific that you're looking for, or that you're looking for that reassurance on, that's where that diversity in your trust network becomes important. Because yes, I may believe you are better than me, right? Because you may be talking to something or talking about something or asking for feedback in something that's not very prevalent, in my area. But I know that I can go to Dr. Harlan, and she may be right on the money and can look at it from a lens that's head on. So I think it's less about, when you get that response of, oh, girl, you better than me, right? That's actually a compliment. But making sure you have a diverse trust network where you can get not only the encouragement, but the direct feedback, specific feedback that's going to help you excel. Yes, sir.
Hello, guys. How you doing? I want to take a different angle with this because where I come from, being smart and being intelligent can be looked at as a negative where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you achieve, and if people that's around you are not going at the same level that you're going, they're going to see your achievements as a negative. And so when you go to them, you say, oh, I just got this new job working at the college and I'm doing this. And if this person never had experience with college or winning anything, they're going to say, oh, you think you're better than me? Oh, that's good. You goody two shoes. So I think those types of things right there, getting those type of that type of feedback from people that you respect and you love, normally family members, church members, and people that you grew up with, that can cause imposter syndrome as well, because you may feel like, I can do this. I can really do this. But your support system is telling you, you think you better than us. You think you one of them white folks. So they'll tell you that to like throw you off, and then when you finally get into that room with these white folks, you get afraid because the people that you respect the most are saying that you can't do it or you think you're better. So how do we deal with that from the internal, from our foundational people that raised us, molded us, and got us to that point.
My response is the same. You have to have a diverse trust network, right? People serve in different areas of your life, right? Your family is going to always be there. They're going to always be there. But they may or may not be closely attuned to your entire journey. And that's across any cultural lines whatsoever, right? I'm pretty sure if I went to talk to my grandmother about some of the things that I've engaged in as an engineer, that's good, baby. And that's okay, right? And sometimes, you think about some of your close cousins and different things like that. There may be some issues regarding what path you decided to take versus the path that they decided to take. And so you have to really be firm in who you are, right? All news ain't good news to some people. And so you have to be able to tailor, right? So that's going to take some effort from you, how you're sharing your good news, right? And also, the flip side of it is, and why you want to share this with your family and different things like that, is because the younger generations, they always looking. They always watching. So you have to make the decision of whether or not, do I stop sharing because of the hits, or do I recognize that I have a greater purpose? And decide which one wins. You're welcome. Oh, y'all got me preaching today. Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. I'm from Texas A&M Galveston. Okay.
All right.
I have a different sort of question.
Okay.
What would the opposite of imposter syndrome be?
Over. Cocky. Yeah. Extreme. I am the best. And I am, don't get me wrong.
Hi, Nathan from Texas A&M San Antonio. I loved everything you've shared so far. And speaking on kind of the same vein of what he was mentioning, on the opposite end, like elitist kind of like academics, we all kind of experience, especially us in the science field, like STEM, where there's competition, right?
Yes.
So can you speak a little bit about how to maybe identify, or if there even is a difference between like projected weaponized imposter syndrome versus like maybe inherent like internal imposter syndrome? And I mean, they might be the same thing, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, that's loaded. I'm gonna have to write that down. Y'all are stretching me here. But I love to freestyle. Gosh. Okay. Thank you. I needed that. One thing I'll say for sure, there are always dual battles, right? I think what you're saying is not only the battle that we're facing internally, right, but some of the external factors that may come in. In my 25 years on this earth, yes. Let me stop. Okay. In my time on this earth, one of the things that I have worked really, really, really hard with is self-awareness, right? I stand 6'2", a mere 6'2", right? And so I'm seen before I'm heard, okay? And a lot of times I was quiet because I was so easily seen, right? And so I had to grapple with, how do I make my voice heard without being overheard? I'm already seen, right? And I'm sure you guys have heard, some of the rhetoric when it surrounds women of color, right? We can be noted as loud or angry and all of these different things. And so, balancing all of those things is a constant struggle, right? But I worked very hard on my confidence. And so for me, it's easier to decide if it's me playing games with myself or people attempting to play games with me, right? I don't do too well with people trying to play games with me. And I'm really good with shutting that down, right? And so I think it's an inward play that you have to work on, right? Yes, sir. We have one in the back, Dean. Y'all have me freestyling for real. This was not part of the plan.
Hi, good morning. I'm
Good morning.
from Previan University.
Yes, sir.
I just have like 3 questions. First one,
I didn't want to say anything, but come on.
some of us like had some kind of childhood trauma while growing up. So how does one like, when they say, okay, the imposter syndrome, how does one like that had childhood trauma like progressively go out or face the challenge of overcome imposter syndrome? That's one. Should I go
Yeah,
ahead?
let's one at a time. Okay. I do not have a clinical background. Okay? I'm an industrial engineer, a nuclear engineer. From a very practical perspective, if I had to put walk in your shoes, my question would be, have you addressed head on your childhood trauma? Have you had the hard conversations, if it includes other individuals? I think this one is less about imposter syndrome and more about internal healing, would be my take, with my non-clinical background. Okay, I have a clinical. Second question?
Okay, second question, how can individual reframe or rethink in building confidence and combat imposter syndrome?
How can you reframe your thinking
Yeah.
to combat imposter syndrome? Strategies.
Like workable strategies.
Okay. Was that? Oh, okay. Oh. There you go. So one, we're talking about it, right? And actually it's less about talking about it, it's an awareness that it exists, right? Because when you can put a name on it and understand that these feelings mean something, you've been probably feeling it all along and had no idea how to coin it, what to call it. Not that the name even matters, right? But you recognize that something exists. So being able to, one, identify it, two, be able to talk about it, right? And then I talked about, one, if it's negative, we got to reframe it into something positive. You know, a lot of times when we experience these feelings, we're like, oh, I don't belong in here with these people. They're too well learned. They're doing all these great things. I'm just getting started. You know, they have 35,000 degrees, 35,000 publications. Here I am with 2. Right? And so really recognizing where you are in that journey. If you are a first-year doctoral student, ain't no way you can have 30,000 publications. Right? I mean, you could, but it's a journey. And so sometimes it's just about actualization, being real with who we are. You know, unmasking everything and being honest, okay? And recognizing that you're a learner, right? Sometimes we come into spaces and we think we're supposed to know it all. Why is that important? I'm here to learn and absorb so that one day the next person will probably come in and say the same about me. I don't know if that's positive. But the idea is that one day you will be there. It just takes time. Third question.
Okay, the final question. Sorry for. So, in finding support team, especially the peer group and finding the mentors, what are the qualities are we supposed to look or find in our peer group and the mentors?
Dr. Harlan, better put you on the spot. He's asking about core characteristics of a good mentor. See, this is why you have friends.
Thank you. That's a great question. And one of the resources we shared yesterday in our mentoring session was a mentor map. So I'm not sure if you were in that session. If you weren't, just come see me and I can share that resource with you. There were also a lot of people in there. They can share it as well. It's not a secret. Or you can do a search for mentor map. But thinking about the different buckets of people, from a professional standpoint, from a sponsorship standpoint, from an academic research tools standpoint, you know, trying to find one person who can give you all the things is not fair to them or to you. But thinking about role models, who do you want to emulate? And the goal isn't to be like somebody, it's to be the best you can be. Okay, so seeking out people who support that path for you, I think, is also really important. And tempering what they say, knowing that they're sharing their perspective, their life experience in that moment, and that may not be the right message for you at that time, too. So choosing for yourself what to accept and what to reject in that moment, but always being thankful and gracious for them taking time to share with us, I think is also really important. And knowing, too, your mentors change over time. Who you start with may not be who you need later, but you may need them at some point. So don't burn bridges, right? But we all need that. So does that help?
That was
Yeah.
great.
There's no
Thank
real
you.
recipe, but yeah.
Thank you.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but we're hoping to share the PDFs of all the slides on our peer-to-peer P2P website. So if that's possible, you'll be able to download all of the different talks.
Thank you. Any more? Dr. Syed.
Outstanding. All right, good. So Adam Syed, Texas A&M. So I want to follow up a little bit on that last question. So many of the folks in this room, graduate students, thank you very much, before too long are going to be moving into roles where they will be mentors to people who have feelings of imposter syndrome, whether it's in the lab, in the classroom, in their chosen profession in academia. What advice would you give to or are going to want to mentor people who will themselves suffer from feelings of imposter syndrome? I'll throw that to you.
Thank you, Dr. Syed. Again, the beauty of having friends in the room. One thing I would say, or the first thing I would say, is take a snapshot of where you are today, right? Remember what you're feeling. Remember the support you wish you would have had, the conversations people would have had with you, right? So most times when I'm talking to students and I'm having different interactions, I put myself back in their shoes, right? So take a snapshot of this moment. As you guys, almost every hand raised at some point. You have been impacted by some feeling of imposter syndrome at some point, right? If there was one thing, and that was actually one of the questions that I had, that you could tell your younger self, but in this context, someone that may be coming behind you, a mentee, and you as a mentor, what would you share with them? Very, very, very important. For me personally, it's a personal question, I think, Adam, and I think it depends on the person, right? I like to think with my non-clinical self that I pay close attention to people, right? What you may need at a particular moment may be tons of encouragement, right? what my friend in the front may need may look a lot to the needs of your mentees, of your mentors, or just people that you're coming in contact with. One of the things I have right now, I don't know if you want to give.
Female doctoral students that you really know more than you think.
Right.
You're just as good. So I find that even though a number of the questions on imposter syndrome seem to come from guys today, but in my experience, I tend to see that more with the females who will hesitate, even in
not doing well in research, then I also go back to my personal life. Oh my God, I don't have friends. And I feel like
We're going to build that trust network, right? We're going to do all the things. And we're going to be hopeful that by doing that and shifting the narrative, that will translate some kind of way into that personal side, right? Having that trust network, those people that you can go to, that trust network isn't just professional, right? Sometimes it's your friends, and they can give you that perspective, right? It's your family, right? So I would say really lean on these items, and I think you'll be okay. Eventually, it's not gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna take forever either, but it's gonna be somewhere in between. Okay. My colleagues, I don't wanna lose sight of you. Dr. Harlan?
If I go back to, and I'm Julie Harlan, I'm at Texas A&M. I serve as an associate dean in the Graduate and Professional School, and I'm a faculty member in the Department of Ag Leadership, Education, and Communication. I've been at Texas A&M 25 years as a faculty member, which...
That's how old I am.
God, yeah. I feel really old saying that because it feels like yesterday that I was a graduate student. So time flies. We heard that last night, that time flies really fast. But one of the things that I wish I had known or that someone had told me is that academia is hard. Higher ed is hard. And when I speak to people who are not in higher ed, they don't understand things like tenure and promotion and how those processes work. I think we're kind of the only entity where it's a committee really at every level deciding how you're doing, right? In most worlds, you have a boss and you need to please one person. But for me, I have a department head, but I also have a department tenure and promotion committee. I have a college tenure promotion committee. We have a university level committee now. There's just a lot of layers of people telling you you're good or you're not, you're okay or you're not. And so for me, I've just had to learn, define success for me. What does that mean to me? Do I feel good about what I'm doing, the work I'm doing? And yes, I need to be meeting the bar on all the things, but having thick enough skin for me to say, I'm doing what I need to do for myself internally, and listening to those who I know have my best interest at heart and who have supported me along that journey. I didn't know that when I started. I had no idea how things worked. I didn't know the difference between an assistant professor and a full professor. I had no idea when I started grad school. So you learn these things as you go. But I wish someone had told me, figuring out what success looks like for you, and that may look a little different than it does for someone else, and that's probably okay as long as you're doing the things that you know in your heart to be true.
Thank you, Julie. We are almost at time, and so I want to capture a question that we had here to close the day, if you would.
Hi, I'm Amber.
Hi, Amber.
Basically, my question is, how do you feel in a leadership position as a woman leading a group of entirely males? Because the issue that I have, so I'm the corps commander here, I'm the third female in a row, or fourth, total ever to exist, and especially in the military, there's a big stigma against women because the military is predominantly males, and I feel like leading as a woman is very different compared to how men lead, because if a man, when he's leading, if he's very stern and disciplined, people look at him and they want to follow him, but if I do that, then it's like,
I don't know if you can tell I'm a little bit spicy. Just a little bit. One of the things that I've held true to in every area of my life, I'm an engineer by training, okay? So it is a white male-dominated field. I'm Black. And I'm a female. Right? Right. But one thing I would tell anybody, I'm not trying to convince you of my skills, right? I hold true to allowing my work to speak for me. I make sure that the things that I do speak well and represent me well on every level. And at the end of the day, Amber, all you can do is what you can do, right? Dr. Harlan talked about, feeling good about the things that she was doing, right? Meeting all my metrics, making a bar on it all, but all I can do is what I can do. I'm not willing to jeopardize myself to make you feel a certain way or you feel a certain way. And you either like it or you don't. That's what's worked for me. I'm not encouraging you to adopt that philosophy, but I do believe you should allow your hard work to speak for you. And with that, thank you guys.
All right, thank you, everybody. The next concurrent session will begin at in about 10 minutes at 11 o'clock.